Welcome to my show, Leslie Said What? Enjoy, guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Leslie Said What? I have been super excited to get this show going, and even more excited about tonight's show and co-host, my former roommate from college, Miss Nessia Waters. Now, Nessia fan now. Look, see, I'm gonna put her back in her maiden name. But yes, so I am super excited. So you guys bear with us tonight. I am using an older computer. I don't know how this is going to work because your girl left her good computer at home. But anyway, it's been a mess, but things are going to work out. Praise God, it's going to be good. Lord, and I just realized I forgot to pray before we got started. Lord have mercy. It's okay. The Lord knows my heart. He knows my heart. He knows my heart. Well, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Anyway, so we're going to jump right in. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and bring Nessia in. I'm not one to just do a whole bunch of introductions, a whole bunch of information. It's like, let's just get it going. Okay? So let's bring on Miss Nessia Fan. Hey, Ness.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you, my girl?
I am good.
Welcome, Ness. So, for those of you who don't know Ness, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I am Nessia Fan. I am, me and Leslie actually go way back like years, to our college years. We were roommates. And so we have just been friends and linked ever since. And so I'm also a mother, a wife, a radio host, and a preschool teacher. So,
yes, for sure. And we are so happy to have you, Ness. So, Ness and I, okay, so for those of you who don't understand the format of the show, basically, people ask questions and they submit questions, and then I answer them via live. So this is a way for you to get those burning questions out that you may have that you may not be comfortable asking, or ones that you think other people need to hear about. And sometimes it's just easier for us to talk through things with other people than it is for us to just talk to ourselves or our friends or family members. So this is another avenue for us to discuss some things. So we want you, the audience, to definitely interact with us. We don't want to be the only ones talking about these subjects, because I know that these are topics that everyone could probably relate to. Right. Okay, so feel free to chime in, say something in the comments, so that we definitely know you're here, and that you give us some feedback on some of the questions. So, Ness, you ready to jump in, girl?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get it done. All right, so the first question that was submitted was, why do I always... Oh, I'm sorry, one more ahead of that one. The first one that was submitted was, why do women feel the need to compete with each other? Yes, so that was our first question that was submitted. Okay, so right out the gate, that was the first one. Now, it's funny, guys, because I seriously was thinking, and I was sharing with Ness, that this was going to be light, but people jumped right deep from the beginning.
Right.
So Ness, so let's go ahead and let's talk this out. So what do you think? Why do you think women feel
goodness. This actually is a very popular question, because we, as women, we see this a lot, especially women who are business entrepreneurs. It's always like this competitiveness, so I think, like, I don't know. I don't know why we have that mentality. I wish that we as women could come together more, to support each other. But you have so many people who, they pick up little issues with you. They want to throw shade. If you're trying to do something, I'm going to try to do it a little better. Or, some people get insulted because they feel like maybe y'all are doing the same thing. And you have a lot of people out here doing the same thing. But my thing is, you're not going to do Leslie how Leslie does Leslie,
Right.
I'm not going to do me how I do me. So even if we're in the same business, it doesn't mean we're going to do the same thing.
Exactly.
But I just think that, unfortunately, you have some women around here who they don't want to, take that time to, all right, how can I support you in what you do? Instead, we're kind of like stepping over each other. And I tell people all the time, like, you would be amazed, like, if women really got together, linked hands, like what we could really do.
Yes.
Like, it's amazing, but I've talked to some very women who are, high power up on executive boards, and they've talked about that, about how they just don't have the support, of other women, and how most of their counterparts or their friends are males, that male, because they can't have that relationship with women, which is sad. So
And the thing is as quick as men say that, or quick as women try to say that men get intimidated by a powerful woman or woman of stature or woman of success, as much as they say that men get intimidated, I think other women get intimidated by that as well.
Yeah.
But like you said, if we could come together as women, oh my gosh. And we always talk about a man's world, but that's because women don't allow themselves to get to where they need to get to.
Right.
Like, and join up.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so the thing that gets me is, honestly, like, I saw a meme on social media not too long ago that was like, look, there are how many different types of ketchup, how many different types of mustard, how many different types of salad dressing, but yet all of them are used. So like, when we get to the point where we're competing with each other, whether it's in business, whether it's in school, whether it's in whatever, remember, there's like all these different types and all these different approaches. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, it's all achieving the same goal. So we can work together if we choose to work together.
Right. And I think, like, society has a big influence on that, because as women, we're always kind of put against each other. It's like we're always competing. If you look around, there's different competitions that women are part of, and no shade to people who are a part of different competitions that support women, but to constantly be put against a woman, sometimes people just get that competitive spirit, about themselves, where they constantly feel like, I have to get ahead of this woman. I have to do, better than this woman, and so forth. And I think sometimes if we weren't, put against each other so much, we might actually be able to do some great things together.
True. And that's the thing. And I liked how you said that, because it's honestly like, okay, if I hear that Susie Sunshine has created this amazing company, it's like, well, how can I do that better? Instead of like, go girl, you go girl. How can I support you? How can we work together? Maybe we can merge our ideas and work together. It's never usually that way. Well, let's just look at the comments. Marlo says, hey, Marlo.
Hey, girl.
Crystal is saying, hey, Crystal girl.
Hey.
And then Kelly has a comment. Kelly says, half of the women don't like each other without reason. So you are not going to do business with someone you aren't willing to get to know first. Yes.
Yeah. And you run into that a lot now, especially now with the pandemic. A lot of people have created businesses online, and so for me, I'm one of those people who I try to support people. I try to, okay, I'm going to support you here. I'm going to support you here. And so sometimes doing business, it's kind of iffy with us, because we feel like, oh, I don't really know you like that, Leslie. So I ain't going to really, try to do no business with you. And that's unfortunate, because I could be your best seller. I could want to buy from you every month. But because I'm not Susie so-and-so, or I'm not on your popularity list, you don't want to associate with me. And that's unfortunate a lot of times. I recall telling my best friend about how I went to it was a big, like a business fair, and different people were there set up, and this girl was selling eyelashes. And I recall trying to, because I had never worn the eyelashes first to begin with. So I was interested in, well, how do I apply them? How long can I wear them? So another girl walked up that she knew. So she cut me off. She was no tell me no more information about eyelashes, and so she started talking to the girl that came up, and I just kind of walked away because I'm like, I was truly interested. I was interested in purchasing. I just wanted more general information.
Right.
Because I guess I wasn't, on that list or whatever.
Exactly. She was like, well, you're not on the list, so let me just go ahead and girl, that's when you're like, well, I don't want your stuff anyway.
Yeah.
That's when you
lashes no way. So
exactly. That's when you take the attitude. You're like, I don't want your stinky stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Kelly says it's just like someone unwilling to give a compliment to someone just as beautiful as you. Yes.
Yeah.
Kelly, say that. And you know what? Society does that to women. Yeah. It's like, okay, just because you're on the cover of a magazine, just because you're in a magazine, just because you are what the man says is the epitome of a woman,
right?
You're supposed to look like this. And this is what they characterize as beauty. And if you are not meeting that same standard, you automatically turn into a competitive mode simply because it's literally forced on you.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally forced on you. Marlo says, great answers. Sometimes women are subconsciously collecting evidence that they are not enough, and comparison serves that need in that moment. We are enough.
Yeah.
Wow. Well said, Marlo.
Absolutely. Marlo, that's a great comment. And it's sad that, we have those moments where we're seeking validation from people, through them, and so a lot of times we do compare ourselves. And I remember, Leslie, you talked about when you first came back, because Leslie be taking vacations from social media, y'all. Leslie be like, I'm out.
I'll be out.
So, but when you came back, you talked about, how people have these lives that they appear to have, like we present in these lives that we appear to have on social media. And that's not the way we rock it, and when we get on here and we see people, especially people who personally, or they may live in your area, you thinking to yourself, child, you don't live like that. That's not how, that's not how you operate, and so constantly we're putting ourselves out here for people for what? A like, a heart, and all these different things. And so, like Kelly said, going back to that, as a woman, you're on Facebook, it's hard to even get other women to comment on your picture, say, man, you look beautiful today, you look great, because they're thinking, her eyebrows ain't even, her lace front jacked up, oh, look at her hair, she need a perm. We're constantly nitpicking at each other. And unfortunately that's what social media and all this has kind of set up for us too.
Yeah. And that's to piggyback off of what Marlo was saying, like how she's saying, like, subconsciously we go around collecting evidence, but also subconsciously evidence is being implanted in our mindset and in our brains based on what we see on social media on a regular basis, what we see in quote unquote magazines, if people even look at a magazine anymore. I mean, let's just be for real. But yeah, literally. And so those things are constantly played into your subconscious, whether it's through a commercial you see, whether it's through a billboard you walk past, anything, honestly, all types of ads. And it's constantly being planted in your brain that this is the characterization of beauty, or this is the characterization of success. And then it literally plants that seed for you to grow this whole facade and fake appearance on social media, because you have to in order to stay in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell my friends all the time, I feel like sometimes when I come on social media, it kind of takes me back to high school, that popularity contest. Of, oh, okay, well, everybody's supporting this one person, and it's not because they genuinely want to support that person. It's because I want that recognition from that person. I want Susie Q to say, hey, you know what? So-and-so is supporting me, because I was that top person back in the day, and blah, blah, blah. So you still have a lot of that, unfortunate competitiveness, that some of us in that popularity contest that some of us witness, going through school.
And honestly, that's exactly right. Because if you think about it, literally social media is like grown up high school. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rudy is giving you a and Kelly says bingo.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to put this out there, and I was almost kind of hesitant, but hey, we have a multicultural listeners listening, so I'm
We
just
do.
going to put it out there. I don't know about you, but as a black woman, I've never feel more competitive than than other black women. Like I feel like those are my biggest competitors is other black women, because
Mhm.
honestly, when it comes to the whole white female, black female thing, honestly, I don't feel as intimidated or feel like I need to compete so much so with the white female as I do with the black female. And I don't know
Right.
why, because if you notice, when two black women or even two black people come in contact with each other, they
Mhm.
literally it's like you automatically, oh, you're not gonna speak, I'm not gonna speak, we're gonna walk right past each other like I ain't see you. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
almost like an instant like defense mechanism when
Yeah.
we as women, especially in the body of Christ, we as women should automatically realize, hello, we're all
Right.
connected. You my sister,
Right.
girl.
Right.
And not just
Right.
like not just like, oh, you my sister because you my black sister, but no, sister in Christ, like legit.
Absolutely. Like my best friend talks about this all the time, about people that we knew in high school and we see them out and about and they won't speak. And she's like, I'm not trying to take you to lunch.
I'm
I'm just
just
trying
saying,
to know.
hey.
I didn't ask you for a lunch day or if we could hang out. And it's crazy. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy that it's like that. And I totally agree with that because and it takes me back to our experience at Gardner Webb when we first got there. Gardner Webb people don't come from me. But anyway, but when we got there, I was more embraced. Well, we both were more embraced by white females. The black
Say
people,
it 15 more times, Nat.
the black people honestly looked at me as if I didn't belong.
Yes.
Like it was crazy, absolutely crazy. And I tell people
100%.
that all the time. Like my first college experience, like the white girls on my hall, they took me in, they embraced me. We was going to the calf, we was going to Walmart, like
Yep.
all kind of things. But for the black girls, it seemed okay. I gotta warm up to you. I gotta get to know you. And then there were some who absolutely didn't want to have anything to do with me because for one, I wasn't an athlete, I wasn't hanging where they were hanging, and which was unfortunate. And as the college years went on, that dynamic changed. But it's very true. For me, I can definitely attest that, a lot of my support in the early years were not from women who look like me. Now, I believe I have a very diverse culture of women who support me. But yeah, in the beginning, yeah, my supporters didn't look like me. My greatest cheerleaders didn't look like me, and they didn't respond to me because for some of them I wasn't like them. I wasn't hood enough. I talk different.
Girl, stop it. Yes.
I've been told I've taught white. I've been told I taught white in my own family.
100.
That's just facts, and I couldn't understand it. Like, what does that mean to talk white? I don't understand, what that means. But, yeah, I think unfortunately for us. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, in our community. Why we as black women, can't get closer together. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, we're all at odds with each other. But I'm saying it's kind of hard for us to develop relationships and friendships with each other, I find. So.
I agree with you 100%. And that's the thing. You hit the nail on the head. Me and my sister just said that just now, sitting in traffic. We just said that literally, honestly, I never feel, I know this sounds so terrible, on edge amongst my white peers. It's literally amongst my black peers.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like, honestly, like with white females, I'm like, hey, girl, quicker than I would with a black girl when I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what she about to say or do. So, because they look at you, some of it, like literally, some of our
Yeah,
sisters look
yeah,
at us like you, like why you acting white? Why you trying to be something you're not? But this is me.
right.
Like, if you don't act the black part, you're
Yeah,
not that female. I mean,
yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's different, it's very difficult. And I think especially like, when we come from different areas and different culture. And I tell people this all the time, just because you're the same race, it doesn't mean that your experiences are the same. We all our culture is different. The culture in my household is different. The culture in your household is different.
Right.
Just like other, people who are in the chat room, it's different. But I
Hmm.
think, people want to group us together and think that, okay, everybody acts the same, everybody operates the same, and we just don't.
We don't.
Yeah.
And Rudy's saying, agreed. For whatever reason, us black women are more divided. We are so much stronger in numbers, especially in the body of Christ. And it's so true. Like,
Yeah.
literally, if we would literally, like you had said from the get go, you hit the nail on the head with the first thing you had said about
Yeah.
if we as women, period, decide to just join up versus compete all the time, we would be fine.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're going to go ahead and chime into our next question.
Okay.
Our next question, this one's always cracks me up because it's like, oh
Where
boy,
my church fan at?
oh boy, here come the saints, Where your church fan, girl? Where your church fan?
I need my church fan. My daughter be taking my fans, baby. Look.
Get me
I'll be ready, honey. Yes, sir.
church fan, yes, girl, yes. Because go ahead.
This is a good one. Y'all got some good questions. Wow. Okay. Because I've been here and recently, I actually had a conversation. We recently got a new pastor at my church, and I actually had this conversation with her about my experience being a young person in church and feeling so judged by people. But it also goes back to college experience too. So for all of y'all who may not know, we went to a private Christian college. Okay. So we had to go to, what was it? Dimensions, kind of like chapel, all the different things, and people made me feel like a complete heathen, sometimes because I didn't go to Bible study Monday through Sunday, and they was having small groups, and I wasn't going. And so people made me feel like, oh my goodness. And so I found that same experience within church, and I talked to my pastor about that, about how coming in to a church, you're already skeptical about your surroundings and how things are going to go and if this is going to be a right fit for you.
Right.
And the last thing you need is the judgment corner. Those people who, when you walk in, they looking at you, they got their fan out. They
church fan though.
They looking, they up here whispering to sister so-and-so about, what you got on or whatever. And so I think a lot of times, when you go into church, people have this mindset of what a good wholesome Christian woman is supposed to look like, what a wholesome Christian man is supposed to look like. And if you don't follow those guidelines, for some people, they feel like you don't belong there. And people have to realize, well, you're a sinner too. That's why you're here, right? Like you do.
Legit.
You legit. Do too. So it's interesting that we get that a lot, especially when we step in church, because most people think, well, that's the safest place I can be. That's the place where I'm going to experience the most love, when actuality, that's the place where some of us have experienced our greatest hurt.
Girl, say it.
So
say it. And that's the thing, like, when it comes to this question, and hold on, I have to put Rudy's comment up here. This is hilarious. She goes, no, she says, not the church fan. Yeah, and that's the thing about, in church, us church people, literally, like, and that's the thing. I can't say myself that I can, like, I said consciously judge someone,
Right.
but sometimes I think it just, our lifestyle
Yeah.
sometimes can make someone feel judged.
Absolutely.
Simply because they think
Right.
we got it all together,
Right.
when in all actuality, boo boo, I'm probably 10 times worse than you are.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna need you to realize that I'm don't have it together.
Right.
And so a lot of times what people do is that whole psychology term where it's like projecting,
Yeah.
and you'll project what your insecurities and what you already feel someone feels on them.
Right.
You'll say that someone else is feeling that way, you're projecting that, and they're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it honestly comes down to that sometimes, where, and then a lot of times people already feel convicted about their own lifestyle, that they end up seriously, like, thinking that, they're judging themselves within. And so anybody else who's doing remotely better than they are, they kind of feel like that sense of tense moment where it's like, oh wait, yeah, they probably are this, that, and the other. Again, all this is assuming and assumptions.
Yeah.
But now that we played that side, let's be for real. People in church judge people like it ain't nobody's business. And it should be nobody's business. Every time you turn around, somebody judging somebody. Every time you turn around. Like, honestly. And the thing is it's like, especially with the young people, like, these young kids, honestly, I don't know how in the world some of them still in church.
Yeah.
Because of how they feel. That people make them feel like they can't go to them. They can't talk to them. That they've never been in their shoes. Like, be real.
Right.
Like, be real. Tell these kids straight up, like, look, sweetie, sister, whatever your name is, has done this, that, and the other, and the other. And let me tell you, I don't want you to repeat my same mistakes. Let me show you how, I should have done, or what I should have done. And if you choose not to do that, then by all means, that is your choice, sweetheart. But let me just be real with you and honest with you and transparent, instead of trying to create this facade like we talked about with social media. People put up this fake facade that ain't even them. Same thing with people in the church. You ain't no better than nobody else.
Yeah. And I think that's what, unfortunately, that's what keeps a lot of our young people who have been to church, they don't want to go back.
Yeah.
And you find that as they get older, they don't return back to church because, of those issues that they experienced, in their teenage years. I remember even growing up in my own home church, and I remember this lady had created a youth group. And so all these youth, she wanted all these youth to, they're going to pledge to save themselves, before marriage. Well, to me, I'm like, well, how are these people, here I am, the judgmental. I'm like, well, how are these people, because they're doing stuff. So why should they be in this group? And I felt like I didn't understand, you forcing kids to make this commitment when this is something that they really didn't want to do, or it was something that they were totally going against. And so there's these pressures, and I'm not saying, when it comes to abstinence and all these different things, and those are great things. But I think sometimes those things put kids in an awkward position, for things later on in life. And so, I just think when it comes to our youth, like you said, we have to give them the real deal. I think it's past time for the sugarcoating on things. Like, I get it. There's a politically correct way to address things, and that's great. But I think some people need to hear it straight how it is. Like, these are the way, this is the way life is going to be. And this is how the situation is going to be. I think because some kids had so much sugarcoated, that affected them later on.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's literally like being so sheltered. And then it's like the kid who goes off to school the moment they get a break and go to college, and they go buck. Wow. Yeah.
We saw that.
We saw that.
We saw that. A lot of that happened.
Christian school. Yes.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's honestly, literally, if people would just be more transparent and straightforward, things would be so much better.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like with our, like, especially girl teaching high school, I see it all and stuff I don't want to see. And the thing is if these kids could had that place, and if church really was the place it should be, then these kids would have a place of refuge, in a sense, to get away from all the stuff that they deal with on a daily basis, a place that they can go and feel like they can be open and honest and find that avenue. You know what I mean?
Because back in the day, kids used to love going to church, Vacation Bible School, teen night, all these different programs that they had, but now, it's a struggle, even getting some youth to participate in the churches now, because they feel like people are judging them. Nobody has a good thing to say about them, so they just kind of fall back and get kind of lost in the shuffle, unfortunately, with things. And, but to the person who asked the question, I think that it kind of goes back to, just in general, when you walk up in a church, like I said, there's that full assessment, unfortunately, that you're going to have from people. But, I would say the greatest thing is, like, don't let those people stop you from your journey in discovering who Christ is.
So true.
And, getting your relationship with God. And so I think that, because that can happen, people get discouraged and say, no, I'm not going to do this. But, I think the best thing you can do about that, just to show people they're not going to deter you, from being there, so, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people experience a lot of judgment,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's the thing. I like how you said that. Like, it literally comes down to not letting the outside affect what you and God, because greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And so it's often hard to remember that sometimes, and it's easier said than done, but just to continue to focus on greater is he that is in me than is he that is in the world. And the thing is man, like the Bible says, looks on the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. So it's essential to get to the point where we keep God's eyes and look for God in our things, not man and their approval. We want God's approval first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Danielle said, love this and you. Love you, boo. Kelly says, the kids these days definitely need to know what the world is like, 100%. Yeah. And that's what I literally do in my classroom, Kelly, is I tell kids, probably a little bit more than I probably should, but I tell kids straight up what they need to know. Because honestly, if they go in unprepared, it's going to literally run them over. And
we see that, as they get older, kids, they have no clue. They have no clue how the world operates. They have no clue what it means to have responsibility, take care of responsibility, to, be independent, and take care of their business because, of the stuff that they were fed all their lives, unfortunately, and I get people trying to walk, tread light and be sensitive, with conversation. But I think, sometimes sensitive needs to be kind of pushed to the side, and you got to give the real deal, because, hey, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. When we first got in college, both of us lived a great life. Y'all hear me? Great life.
It was life,
and you name it, like, Then when we got older, the bills came in. We were like, what?
Yes.
So.
Right, exactly. We lived it up. Man, college life, people say college are the best years of your life. Legit, the best years of your life.
Yeah.
This one came in midweek. This one, how to nicely keep family that hurt you at a distance to prevent it from happening again. So this person's question was in regards to a family situation that happened. She didn't go into detail, but it was a situation that happened in their family, and the family members live out of town, and they continue to come into town, inviting themselves basically to their home. And her struggle is, she tries to find different creative excuses and getting them not to stay and not to, letting them know they can't stay at their house when they visit. But the excuses are running out. But she wants to nicely put it so that they can stay away. And so that, it prevents them from being hurt again. So. that's where that question came from.
Okay. I can actually I can actually kind of relate to this one a little bit. I'm gonna try not to put too much of my own business out here because I know some of my family's watching. But anyway, but yeah, I have experienced that. Of experiencing that hurt from a family member. And this is what I learned because I'm huge on family. I have a huge family. Like we're just, I mean, Leslie, you've been here. We just have a good time and we embrace each other. However, we don't take no mess. So, for me having an experience where I did, have an issue and experience hurt from a family member, I will say this, that even though people are your family, it doesn't mean you have to tolerate their foolishness.
Truth.
Truth. And I think that we feel like that because we've been told, oh, Uncle so-and-so or Aunt so-and-so is that way. That's how they are, Well, why are they that way? Why do they have to be that way? Why do I have to accept them being that way? You know what I mean? So I think that when it comes to family, we have to set our boundaries with certain people, unfortunately, just like you would, anybody else in the world. And it hurts because that's your family. But you have to do what you, and I've learned that even more the older I've got. You have to do what you have to do for your own peace of mind,
Legit.
And so I would say, have that conversation with that family member. Like, look, tell them why you're hurt. First of all, a lot of times people don't even know why we feel a certain type of way because we just, well, I ain't talking to them. I'm not having nothing to do with them.
Right.
Tell them why you're upset. Let them know why you're hurt. What did they do to hurt you? And then you explain to them, this is the space I need. These are the boundaries that I'm setting for our relationship. And if they, get in their feelings and they don't want to accept that, I mean, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you have to control your space because that's your space. Family popping up and trying to do what they want to do, we all have experienced that. And sometimes you got to nip stuff in the bud with people,
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I love how you said with the family, like, honestly, family is just like anybody else. They really are. Like just because our blood and DNA and chromosomes and whatever else in the science, whatever world matches does not mean or give you a license to treat me any kind of way and expect me just to forgive you and move on. Yes, I'm going to forgive you. But as far as moving on means we may need to move apart. Like you stay in your space, I'll stay in my space, and this is how it works. Now, a lot of times we don't feel comfortable enough communicating the hurt and how they hurt us, or if it's some time has passed and we're like, I don't know if I should go back and tell them it's been a while. Well, bruh, if you're still feeling it, it ain't been long enough. So you need to go ahead and let them know. And you don't have to get all crazy and be all crazy about it. Like, look, you don't know what you did to me. No, you can come to them and be like, look, we need to just have a talk. Honestly, I think it's best that you stay in your space. I stay in mine. If we meet up occasionally, fine. If we don't, that's fine too. God said love them. He ain't said you had to be in that face 24/7.
Right. Okay.
I'm just saying. Real quick, we'll back up to Danielle's question, her comment.
Okay.
Danielle said, what do you think contributed to the lack of youth participation in church? Electronics, social media? In my opinion, I think honestly, it's the day and age we live in. Big time in the church or in the Bible, you'll even say like, as the Lord, as it comes time for the end, I guess you could say, kids, people, everyone in general start to fall away from the truth or from what they know to be right or what they know to be whatever, especially with social media and these things being a contributing factor. But I don't think that they are the ultimately end all and be all. Honestly, I don't think that there's a fear of God anymore to the point where kids are feel inclined to have to go to church. And I don't say like fear, like, oh, you going to hell, go to church. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying more of an effect where it's like you're being drawn into the church by, oh, wow, I want that piece that person displays. Ooh, I want to be like that person what are they doing? Oh, are they going to church? Let me go to church. It's more of like, I don't want no part of that. I don't want to be a part of that drama and all that stuff that's going on in the church. You like that type of thing. And the thing is when it comes to like social media, church, that type of thing, a lot of times social media does create an avenue for people to create judgments that make kids not want to come to church. So I think it honestly just depends on the family involvement, and also, like I said, that fear of God is not there as it used to be, in a sense of everything is I get offended. If you notice, we're living in a society where everything is offensive. Everything is freaking offensive. So like, I'm not going to go to church because I'm going to be offended at my lifestyle, or I'm not going to go to church because such and such said this to me, or I'm not going to go to church because she did this and she told her, and then her. Come on. Literally, we're living in a society that's always cushioning people and rubbing them down. It's okay, to the point where they're not even coming to church because who wants to go there? They're going to feel convicted and offended all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, with that, I think, yes, electronics definitely, because now you see kids in there, they got the phones, everybody's looking at their phone, nobody's listening to Pastor, they don't know what he said. But I also think, like you said, Leslie, I think that parents aren't talking about going to church no more. I mean, me growing up, it wasn't a topic. It was, you're going to church. You know what I mean? Like,
There's no discussion.
There's no discussion. So every Sunday I knew that I was going to church, and my mama was a head usher. So we was going to ushers turnouts, ushers union meeting, another program after church, like, in Wednesday Bible study, so all these different avenues. And so I think that also because, unfortunately, some parents don't really have that relationship with the church anymore. So there's no discussion about that with their children. And there's nobody. It used to be people who would go, okay, I'm bringing all these kids to church from the community and stuff. And you don't have that anymore either. People bringing kids in. And so I think that it's a lot of things that factor in trying to get the participation in the church. I think it goes back to what we said about, like you said, kids feeling offended by certain things that you say. Kids feeling like, well, I can't really talk to you. You're not going to understand what I'm trying to say. So I think it's a lot of factors that weigh into, why kids just kind of take the
back seat. They take a back seat to church and they're like, no, thank you. I ain't gonna have it. What Sister Lisa was saying, she said, also the world has so much to offer and the church can't keep up. Kids are taught by society that they have to be entertained. It's so true. And church ain't entertaining to them.
Very true.
Wow,
very
what
true.
A great point.
That's very true, Lisa. Very true.
It's such a good point. Because honestly, that's what it comes down to, is it's like, these kids have so many avenues to be entertained now. And it's like, oh, if the church isn't going to create that entertainment atmosphere, then by all means, why would I go? And again, that's funny because in hearing her say that, if you notice, like the newer churches, girl, got a full-on blown concert, lights, people riding motorcycles across the stage, all kinds of stuff. The sacredity and the sanctity of church is disappearing. What'd you say?
We got coffee shops.
Yeah, coffee shops.
Like, I've been to one that had a mini Starbucks, and I was like, really? Like, this what we doing? Like, wow,
they finding all kinds of avenues.
And you got, the big screens and monitors, and so for me growing up, we have none of that. You had an organ, the piano, and you had the pastor and the choir. There was no, the hymnal books. Wasn't nobody on their phone looking at the Bible app,
Right. And then having the Bible app out, and they get a Snapchat notification. So they get distracted anyway.
Get easily distracted, which is true. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely.
And their attention spans are nothing near the way it used to be.
Yeah.
Nothing near it.
One of the things, and I've had people give me comments on my daughter, even growing up. They're like, she's just so well behaved in church. But she, I've had her in church since pretty much since I had her. You know what I mean? So she knows. She knows we don't get in church. We're not acting loud. We're not putting on.
We're not doing that.
We're not acting up. You know what I mean? We ain't acting up in church. But that goes back to, like I said, teaching them the ways of things of that nature. And so I think that we as parents, we have to get back to that. We really do.
Mm-hmm. 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 Lisa says, bingo, parents aren't talking about it like they used to. I don't even know if many parents go faithfully anymore. Not a good lesson for kids. And that's true. It goes to that scripture in Proverbs. It talks about train up a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he won't depart from it.
Yeah.
But if you ain't never put nothing in them, ain't nothing going to come out of them. Yeah. But the devil.
And then you have a lot of parents. I know at one time our church, you had youth coming, but their parents wouldn't come, so they were sending the kids, but them themselves weren't coming sometimes. So it's kind of like, I mean, it was good that they put the kids out there, but I think it would have went over even better for the kids had they saw, well, mom's in here, dad's in here, so.
And then the thing with that is, if you notice, remember like the Sunday school van that used to go and pick up the kids, and for the vacation Bible school and stuff, and no parents, but all the kids.
All the kids.
We would daycare for them. Kelly says, listen, honey, we have to stop allowing folks to act any kind of way because we're a family. So this is going back to the family question. I have a cousin whom I quit speaking to because he was very difficult and disrespectful towards me because I disagreed with him. Absolutely. If we were to go on a family vacation next week and he's there, I'm going to definitely continue to keep my distance. I just wish him and his family well from a distance.
Absolutely.
Well put, Kelly. Like, legit, well put.
And let's go back to, I said, protecting your space and your energy.
And your mindset.
And just because people are your family, it does not mean that you have to tolerate with their mess. It does not.
Exactly. And Lisa said, I don't think some family members care if they hurt you. Some want to manipulate and control you. I think talking to those types would make it worse, especially if you tried to talk already and got nowhere. True. I find it best to continue to pray for them and forgive daily, 490 times a day. That's the thing, if necessarily. It's true. That's a good point. I like that she brought that out because sometimes we're so quick to be like, let's talk it out. And then there's some people you just can't talk to.
And we have those people that are just those nice, nasty people in our families. They always got something slick to say. They always saying something out the side of their mouth, and you kind of look at them like, why are you saying that? And it's true, unfortunately. We do have people in our family who have no regard for how you're feeling, how their words come off. And I try to do my best to have conversations with people and talk to them about you have to be careful about how you project off onto people and your words.
The way you say it.
The power behind the words. You can say a whole lot in a nice way. And it can be effective. But if we say things in such a nasty demeanor way, like it goes nowhere. But I definitely agree with you. And I definitely agree, with Lisa as well. I think that, the forgiving process, that's a journey. That's been a journey for me. Because for me, and I've learned that over the years, because for me, if anybody knew me back in the day, once I was done, I was done. I wasn't dealing with you no more. There was no forgiveness. And so, that's a journey in itself, learning to just forgive people and go on,
It's true. And that's literally what it comes down to. Yeah. We have to get to the point where we don't let someone else's perspective affect us, because we're honestly not responsible for how they react. We're responsible for how we react. If we do everything in our power, that's on them. And so oftentimes we beat ourselves up because of what they chose to do or how they chose to react to something. And that's not in our wheelhouse. That goes above our pay grade. Absolutely. Our spiritual pay grade. That's above it.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to back up for a second because Mike, okay, first of all, if you guys are looking at the comments, Mike Livingstone, if you don't stop making crazy comments. So this is a guy I taught with in Kuwait, and he's messing with me in the comments. I almost busted out laughing at one point and couldn't even get myself back together. All right, so we're talking about, so Kelly wants to go back to the church comment, and she said, back to the church thing, we were made to go, and she's right. And then she said the kids are made to go. I know I was when I was younger, like legit. And the thing is I know at first it's like, oh, you can't force a kid to go to church, but in being forced, it literally opens up this avenue, and then you can make a choice, just like in Amish country. These kids are forced to be Amish until they don't want to be no more. So it's like, but you have to have the instruction that and the knowledge to make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's just in my opinion. This old song.
I think that we give kids too many options nowadays. Maybe because I didn't have any. Maybe because I didn't have any options growing up. I just had to do what I was told, you know. But I feel like when it comes to church, I think that especially when you're young, there should be no option if you're going or not. You know, when you get older, you know, you can decide on your own accord of how that's going to go. If that's the way your family rocks. But I think that, you know, the kids nowadays, yeah, they have too many options. Oh yeah, you know, he decided he wasn't gonna come to church today, and you know, and I've heard a lot of parents actually talk about that in the church. Yeah, they didn't want to get up this morning. What you mean they didn't want to get up? Like,
they didn't feel like it. I didn't want to push it on them.
Right.
So what? And see, and that's the thing, like. There's this old song that says, I'm so glad mama and daddy drug me. It's an old school, like, quartet song that used to play on the radio when I was growing up. And it's honestly, just like your parents force you to go to school, you ain't got no choice. Whether you want to go or not, you're going to school. So you go to school to get the education that you need so that when you get older, you do make the right decisions and know the right path. Same with church. You go to church. You get there, you figure out what it is you want to, you know, what it is you're supposed to believe. Right. Then from there, it's on you because mama did her part. She did her part.
Absolutely.
Hold on. Deanne says, my baby going to church. That's right, Deanne.
Okay, then.
Yeah, Deanne. Take your baby to church.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Mike says, if I want a kid's opinion, I'll give it to them. Exactly. That's such a good point. Literally, my mama told me in a minute, you don't have no, what did she say? She's like, you don't have no opinion. She'd tell me what I was going to do and how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Crystal says, oh, where is it? I agree. My parents never asked me if I wanted to go to church. I was going whether I liked it or not. Right. And that's the thing nowadays. Again, it goes back to those, like, that whole offensive society. Like, everything's offensive. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to push him. Just like in sports, everybody wins. What? You tripping. Nowadays, that whole sports thing with kids play sports. Everybody is a winner. Everybody gets the participation award. What?
They do. They give out trophies to all the babies.
But like, we are not taking that same approach to church. Like, what? My child, he needs to feel fulfilled if he's going to go to church. What?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Just like you got 5 and 4-year-olds choosing to do what they want to do, blah, blah, blah. Thought it was. Deanne says, let me bring this up. If miracles, signs, and wonders were going on, you wouldn't need the promise of a soon to be released PS5. That's hilarious. That was funny. Oh my gosh. Well, like, I want to, like, we didn't get to all of our questions. So next week, guys, we will pick up these questions that we didn't get to. Next week, we'll be discussing why is there so much pressure for older women from older women in the church to get married? Meaning, why are there older women in the church trying to push younger women to get married? The next one, why is mental health not a topic of discussion in the church? And it's often regarded as, oh, you're not praying hard enough. We're going to talk about that next week. So those are two of the questions we're going to be addressing next week. Guys, be sure to go on Facebook and look up Nessia's radio show. It's the Beautiful Butterfly Radio Show. So if you literally went to facebook.com, typed in / the Beautiful Butterfly Radio Show, it will come right up. So I encourage you guys to definitely tune into Nessia's show. And we want to thank you, Nessia.
Thank you. I had a good time. These questions were
this was
amazing.
fun.
It was. The questions
I'm so glad the girl reunited and it feels so good. Yeah. And thank you all for watching, because without audience participation, this would not be a thing. We have several comments coming in. Hold on 1 second. Let's see what these other questions were real quick. Church wasn't an option in our home. Sunday morning, night, Tuesday prayer, Thursday Bible study, and even church cleaning. Yeah, girl, cleaning the church. That was a requirement. Yes, when it was your turn, you cleaned the church.
Yes, sir.
Kids have too much to say now. Yeah. I think she's saying say. Yeah, it's scary. Kids do have way too many opinions. Andrea says, my parents didn't really go to church because they was always working, but my grandmother definitely made sure we attended. Yeah, ain't nothing like grandma. Grandma gonna make sure. If mama ain't gonna make sure, grandma gonna make sure you get
grandma
there.
Gonna take all the grandbabies to church. Like,
exactly.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Mike, I'm not giving out free PS5s. That was just a comment. Lisa, good questions for next week. Yes, I think so too. I think it's going to be a good discussion. So definitely everybody tune in and feel free to make comments. We want you to join the conversation. Like me and Ness don't want to be just talking to each other like we were today. So it's great that you guys tuned in, or we wouldn't have any conversations.
Absolutely.
Siobhan said, I think the biggest thing too is that parents influence the outlook of how we view church as well. If they live what is read, it makes a difference versus do as I say versus do as I do. Good point. Again, that goes back to what we were saying about parents. Like, they have to set the example. If they're not going to be the example, of course, what you going to expect your kids to do?
Absolutely.
And like Sister Lisa said, yep, love those grandmas. Because grandma's going to make sure you do what you're supposed to do, one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Willingly or unwillingly, you're going to do what grandma say.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Nessia.
Thank you. It has been fun. Thank you for having me.
Yes, for sure. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, Ness. I'm going to go ahead and click you out, and I'm going to click myself out. Everybody have a great night.